Welcome back to another day of Bible studies. We're continuing on here through Divine Comedy. My name is Kevin Young. I have the privilege of serving here at Christ Table as lead clergy. And if you'd like to know more about Christ Table, right there is where you need to go, www.christstable.today. If you'd like more information about this study in particular, we've got a free download right here that will help you out, go.christstable.today/Divine Comedy. There is a PDF there that'll walk you through every day of this study journey. Gives you some background cultural context, gives you some ways to maybe apply it to your thinking and go a little bit deeper. If you'd like a printed copy, that free PDF is there. But if you'd like a printed copy, you can get this along with some other resources to go along with it by visiting the button that's there on that URL, Get the Box, and you can take advantage of that. I also want to make sure that you're aware of this if you don't already know. Reconstruct Your Faith. If you are disillusioned, disconnected, discouraged, done with the church, with Christians, with Christianity, then this may be a great resource for you or somebody who is facing that and trying to navigate what steps they take next on their journey of faith, if any. You can find out more information about this at drkevinyoung.com. So in this study, what we're doing is we're looking at the funny places in the gospel. Jesus had a funny bone. Jesus had a very sharp, witty, and excellent sense of humor. We just don't usually think of Jesus in that way traditionally because so much is lost in translation. So many of these turn on the Jewish customs and turn on the phrasing and the words and the turns of phrases. But even at that, there is in the Gospels some slapstick humor. There's some comedy moments. There are moments where Jesus tells real jokes. Usually, though, it's kind of awkward, knowing laughs from the crowd whenever somebody is caught in a situation or a dilemma that they can't weasel or navigate their way out of. Yesterday we had one of those. Today we have another one of those whenever we look into our text, Mark chapter 3, verses 23 through 27, Satan's kingdom. Now, why don't we just go ahead and jump here into the text. This is actually kind of relatively easy to understand and see what Jesus is doing here. So let's just jump into the deep end of the pool, look at the text, and hear what the story is. So Jesus called them over. These are some individuals who had always been on his case, and they were saying that the miracles that Jesus was doing, the healings that he was doing, were of satanic origin. They were ascribing all of these amazing things that Jesus was doing in order to help people as being power from Satan, from the evil one, from Lucifer, by whatever name you know that individual, that power. It was dark power, anti-God power. So Jesus is like, come closer. Lean in here just a little bit. And as Jesus would often do, which rabbis often did, he would give a story or a parable that would say so much more than just the words uttered. How can Satan cast out Satan? He asked. Many of the moments that we see in the Gospels in the New Testament is Jesus casting out demons, some evil, some dark, something demonic, oftentimes inside of people, Jesus would remove in one way or another. There are many ways in which Jesus did this. So he asked these folks who are saying that this is dark magic, this is occult power that Jesus is using in order to be able to do these things that are inexplicable by any normal, rational laws that they understood the world to operate and work by. And so Jesus asked them to lean in. How can Satan cast out Satan? Fill me in on that. A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. Similar, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. They both had great examples of each of these things in their own timelines and in their own families. Jesus continues, and if Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He'd never survive. And I imagine that emoji, that thinking emoji where the hand is here on the chin and that look of puzzlement. Make it make sense. Let me illustrate this further. He knows he's got them, but let's just go just a bit further so that everybody here really has no question in their minds the ridiculousness of this idea that you're suggesting. Let me illustrate this further. Who is powerful enough to enter the house of a strong man and plunder his goods? Only someone even stronger, someone who could tie him up and then plunder his house. Now, Jesus is referring back to this idea in Isaiah 49 of a strong man, and he's essentially, seemingly, calling those folks whom the demons, the evil is being removed from, the darkness, as being God's house, God's temple, God's space. And how could Satan come into something that is God's space and plunder it and be in control? Who's powerful enough to do that? Only someone even stronger, someone who could tie him up and then plunder his house. So Jesus has kind of made two illustrations here. He has given them really this dilemma that shows the ridiculousness of the idea that Satan would cast Satan out of Satan's house, that Satan would destroy Satan's resources and residences and real estate. It doesn't make any sense why Jesus would use satanic power in order to hurt Satan. But then beyond that, where does that power come from? Well, it can only come from somebody who is more powerful than Satan. So the only one who could remove Satan from Satan's house is someone who is stronger than Satan and evil. So he's done two things here. The first thing that he's done is he's used this rabbinic parable to format, he's used this parable format in order to demonstrate a logical impossibility. Did they know that? Had they thought through that? Who knows? But it's likely that the people who were listening to them, the crowd and those around them, had not considered that. And so oftentimes what we see is that Jesus isn't necessarily speaking or teaching in order to move or change the people who are the problem. We don't always see that happen, but oftentimes what Jesus is doing is he is using these as opportunities to teach and educate the crowd, the people who will listen and who are able to listen and who are willing to think, recourse correct, and change. This is a logical impossibility, right? That Satan would cast Satan out of Satan's house. Kingdom divided by itself or from itself wouldn't stand. A family that's divided amongst itself isn't strong. But he also does something else in addition to that, as we said. In addition to what he does here in dismantling these accusations of demonic alliances by poking fun at Satan, removing Satan from his own house, he makes this additional point that Jesus, the ultimate burglar, is also robbing Satan's house. That he's stronger than Satan. In their minds, there was only one person, one power that was greater or that was stronger than the occult, than the dark magic, than the evil, this idea of demons. And it was Yahweh, God, the Lord of the Exodus, the Lord of bringing them out of the bondages and expulsions from the land, the God of the Ten Commandments, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It could only be that God who is powerful enough to override Satan's control of individuals, of the world. And so Jesus is not only saying, Jesus is saying, not only am I not using Satan's power to affect Satan, that's ridiculous. But there's only one person, one power, one entity that can do that. And it has to be more powerful than even Satan, than even the demonic, than even the darkness and the occult. And that's God. That's good. And so the crowd would have gone from laughing at Jesus' illustration of Satan throwing Satan out of Satan's house, and that they had kind of accused him of that, because now they look like idiots, right? They look inept at completely and utterly failing, like Logic 101. But now what Jesus has done is Jesus has essentially gone one step further and proven to them who he is and where that power comes from. A lot of people aren't going to respond well to that. In fact, it's going to become a dividing line that ends up dividing him on Passover week. So, Satan can't stand against Satan. There is only one who can. It is God. And now Jesus is claiming to have that power, but also to be God as well. Well, it's been good to be with you today, as well as this week in the study. We've got another week coming up in this study, another 2 weeks left, I think, in this study. So you can get those resources. We'd love for you to get them. Take advantage of them. They're there for you free of charge, no strings attached at go.christstable.today/divinecomedy.